Hey, what's up, guys? Combat Critique here. Let's take a look at this upcoming heavyweight fight between Jailton Almeida and Derrick Lewis. So let's get started. If we talk about the records of these two fighters, starting with Almeida. So Almeida has 21 fights in total. He's won 19 of his 21 fights and lost just twice. If we talk about his 19 wins, he has 7 wins via knockout, 12 wins via submission. So this man is a finishing machine. If we talk about his two losses, he has been knocked out once and he has also lost one fight via decision. However, he is undefeated in the UFC right now. Now let's take a look at Derrick Lewis's record. So Derrick has 39 fights, so significantly more experience than Jailton Almeida. And if we talk about his 39 fights, he has 27 wins, 11 losses. And talking about his 27 wins, he has 22 via knockout, just one via submission and four via decision. So this man is really a knockout artist. If we talk about his 11 losses, he has been KO'd 7 times and he has been subbed twice and he has lost to decision 2 times. He also has a no contest on his record. Now let's take a look at the physical and career statistics of both these guys. Starting with the height, it is 6 feet 3 for Almeida and also 6 feet 3 for Derrick Lewis. So both these guys are equally tall. If we talk about the weight, so Lewis previously fought at light heavyweight, so this is why it is saying 205. However, now he is fighting in heavyweight. And if we talk about Derrick Lewis, he usually weighs around 260. I think Lewis will be the heavier fighter in the cage, but I don't think this will matter much because Jailton has beat bigger guys in the past inside the octagon. If we talk about the reach, it is 79 inches. Again, 79 inches for both these guys. Talking about the stance, again, both these guys are orthodox stance fighters. And if we talk about the age, this is where they differ. Jailton Almeida is the younger fighter, and Derrick Lewis is clearly the older fighter. He is older by about 6 years. I think age can play a factor in this fight. However, this is the heavyweight division, and age does not play much of a factor in the bigger weight classes. We have seen this with previous champions of light heavyweight and heavyweight like Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic, Glover Teixeira. All these guys were pretty old when they became champions. Now let's take a look at the career statistics. First up, we have the strikes landed per minute. So this signifies the number of strikes that you land on your opponents per minute. On average, this is 3.81 for Jailton Almeida and it is 2.6 for Derrick Lewis. So looking at these stats, clear advantage goes to Jailton Almeida. However, all the striking stats of Jailton are to be taken with a pinch of salt. I'll tell you why in the next slide. This man is a special case. If we talk about the striking accuracy, this is 64% for Almeida and just 50% for Derrick Lewis. So again, the advantage goes to Almeida. If we talk about the strikes absorbed per minute, it is really low, 0.3 for Almeida, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you in the next slide why this is so low. If we talk about Derrick Lewis, it is 2.59, almost 2.6. So in this case, the advantage goes to the guy who is getting hit lesser. So again, the advantage goes with Almeida. Striking defense is just 25%, and again, this is also not technically correct. If we talk about the striking defense of Derrick Lewis, it is 41%. So again, the advantage, sorry, here for the first time, the advantage goes to Derrick Lewis. He has better striking defense on paper, it seems. However, all the striking stats that we have seen for Almeida are to be taken with a pinch of salt. I don't think they are really accurate. Now let's talk about what is accurate, which is the wrestling, grappling, and BJJ statistics. Starting with the takedown average, which is 6.4 for Almeida, and it is just 0.6 for Derrick Lewis. So a huge advantage goes to Almeida here. Takedown accuracy is 68% for Almeida, and it is just 28% for Derrick Lewis. So again, the advantage goes to Almeida. And takedown defense of 50% for Almeida and 52% for Derrick Lewis. So Derrick Lewis has a slight advantage, but keep in mind that Almeida does not really want to defend the takedown. He has good submission abilities. If we talk about the submission average, it is 2.5 for Almeida and it is 0. Derrick Lewis has never attempted a submission in the UFC so far. So the clear submission advantage also goes to Jailton Almeida. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by opposition for both these guys, starting with Almeida. So if we talk about him, just 4 of his strikes that he has thrown in the UFC, or 3%, are from the standing position. So this is why I was saying that his striking odds are kind of an anomaly. So this man has not really thrown any strikes from the feet or from the clinch, and almost all his strikes, 97% of all his strikes, have been ground strikes. So this man is a very weird case, and this usually never happens in any fighter. Most of the fighters have a very high percentage of strikes in the standing position, because all the fights start in the standing position. But Jailton Almeida is a special case. And if we talk about Derrick Lewis, he has 40% of all his strikes from the standing position, 18% from the clinch, and 42% on the ground. So his ground and pound is also not that bad. But Jailton is almost exclusively looking to take you down and either finish you via ground and pound or sub you. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target. 96% of all the strikes that Almeida throws are to the head. And keep in mind that these 96% are almost all ground strikes, just 3% to the body and just 2% to the leg. If we talk about Derrick Lewis, 79% of all his strikes are to the head, 17% to the body, and just 5% to the leg. Both these guys do not use leg kicks at all in their game, and they are pretty much aiming for the head. Derrick Lewis likes to go to the body a little bit more often than Jailton Almeida. Now let's talk about some of the previous performances of these two guys, starting with the curious case of Jailton Almeida. If we talk about his last fight, he landed 4 strikes and he absorbed none of the strikes from Rosenstrike, got a takedown and finished Rosenstrike in the very first round via submission rear naked choke. This fight happened in May of this year. If we talk about the fight before this, he beat Shamil Abdurakhimov, and this happened by a KO TKO in the second round. This fight happened in January of this year. If we talk about the number of strikes thrown, Jailton threw 45 strikes and he just absorbed 1 strike from Shamil. He got 3 takedowns and was able to win the fight via TKO in the second round. Before this, he beat Anton Turkalj, and in this fight also he just absorbed 1 significant strike from his opponent. He beat him via submission rear naked choke in the very first round. Before this, he beat Parker Porter and absorbed no damage. 18 strikes thrown by Almeida and got a takedown and a sub to win the fight in the very first round. And before this was his UFC debut, where he beat Danilo Marquez. Again, he threw 30 strikes, absorbed no strike, got 2 takedowns, and finished the fight via TKO in the very first round. So this is why this man's striking stats seem so weird. And if we talk about the strikes that he has absorbed so far in the UFC, it's just 2 strikes, one in the Abdurakhimov fight and another one in the Turkalj fight. So this is why his striking defense odds are not to be believed at all. Also, the number of fights he has in the UFC is really low. Now let's take a look at Derrick Lewis's record. Derrick Lewis has been in the UFC for a while now. He is a staple of the heavyweight division. If we talk about his last fight, he beat Marcos Rogerio de Lima via KO in the very first round via flying knee, and this fight happened in July of this year. Keep in mind that Derrick Lewis is taking the fight against Almeida on short notice. He was not supposed to be fighting Almeida. If we talk about the fight before that, he lost to Sergey Spivak, and this was via arm triangle in the very first round. He also lost to Pavlovich, and this was via knockout also in the very first round. Before this fight, he lost to Tai Tuivasa via KO, and this was in the second round. So he was on a 3-fight losing streak. Then he won against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who is, I believe, not on the same level as Jailton Almeida. If we talk about the fight before that, he beat Chris Daukaus via KO in the very first round, lost to Cyril Gane via TKO in the third round, and before that he beat Curtis Blades via knockout in the second round. So he has had some ups and downs, mostly downs in his past few performances in the UFC, I believe he is on the decline, which is why I have to pick the winner as Jailton Almeida. I think he has better wrestling, better grappling, and Derrick Lewis, even though he got the win in his last fight, I don't think he is in his prime. He is clearly out. He will be 40 in a few years. He is getting older. I think Jailton Almeida is better prepared for this fight. Derrick Lewis is kind of stepping on short notice. For these reasons, I am picking Jailton to win this fight. I think its wrestling will be too much for Derrick Lewis. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.